Welcome to Thursday Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jessie Ott, the host of this podcast, which is all about beverage innovation. I talk with innovation pioneers from agriculture to glass. This week, I spoke with Taylor Foxman, founder and CEO of the Industry Collective. She is 40 Under 40 Beverage Alcohol VC advisor, Rolling Stone Culture Committee member, and entrepreneur media contributor. Taylor takes us through her amazing journey about her career, why she didn't get her MBA, her marriage, mentors, and resources that have helped her get to where she is today. One mentor in particular helped her make the leap into the cannabis world as VP of Communications and Media for Parallel, one of the largest privately held cannabis companies in the US. Taylor wakes up every morning and sets her intentions by writing down how thankful she is and the goals she wants in life. She has found that very helpful in navigating her career and goals in life. She currently, at the Industry Collective, is a strategic advisor of CEOs of 40 beverage companies from around the world, from early stages to the late stages of growth. Her primary focus is working with beverage owners from underrepresented communities. She helps with fundraising and connecting the right companies with the right investors, which is half her day. The other half is planning strategy and building brand awareness with bootstrapping budgets. Taylor didn't plan to start the Industry Collective, but it happened very naturally through a need for VCs to navigate their path in the startup beverage business. Today, 90% of her business comes from referrals from VCs. Taylor was an amazing guest with a lot of great advice, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of all new episodes. Welcome to Thursday Thursdays, everybody, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, I have Taylor Foxman, the founder and CEO of the Industry Collective. Welcome, Taylor. I'm super excited to have you on my show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be, I think, an early guest, right, on the podcast. I'm excited.
You're number 8.
All right.
Number 8. I didn't realize that you were a podcaster too. So how many have you done?
Oh, God. I think we were on so I host 2 podcasts, both of which I was a guest on, and then they asked me to be a host of, a co-host.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool. So one is just kind of on a rolling basis where we interview different CEOs of beverage companies, and that's just kind of, throughout the year we do it. So we've done I think 20 of them, nothing crazy. And then the other one is run by someone who has a little bit more organizational skills than myself. It's called Honest Retail. Yeah, it's called Honest Retail, and we actually do. We have an episode a week, and we talk about different news happening in CPG and retail. And so we've done, I think, 45 episodes. So quite a lot. Yeah, quite a lot.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I'm in episode 8 with you.
All right.
I've made the commitment to do one a week for this year and see how it goes. And so far it's been one of the coolest things I've ever done, to get to meet different people in our industry that are really, changing the game and helping these different companies like yourself with different startups and new beverage companies. And so it's never been a more exciting time, for our industry, which, we'd have, line extensions or something like that, but never really the explosion of what's happening now. So it's really an exciting time, I think, in our industry.
Absolutely. It couldn't be a more exciting time. I agree 100%.
So Taylor, where are you calling from today?
I'm based in New York City. What about you, Jessie? Where are you based?
We have 2 homes. Currently, we live in a small town called Lake Mary, which is just north of Orlando. And then we have a townhome in Dallas, Texas.
Excuse me. Very fancy.
Yeah.
I barely have an apartment with door. I don't even have doors in my apartment.
Oh, no. Oh,
I'm in New York. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I lived there for about 3 years. I lived 46th Street Station in Queens.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I'm in Chelsea. So my husband and I are 19th and 6th and 7th. So kind of in the middle of the city on the west side.
Yep. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's a great area. I had a friend of mine that used to live down there.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah,
it's a great area.
We've been West Side people for quite some time, until my husband and I moved back to Germany, and then he's No Side. Is very far away from all the sides of Manhattan, but luckily he's back.
No.
Yes.
Is he there now?
No, he's back. He's back. We met 6 years ago. He was getting his MBA from Cornell, and just circumstances happened with the job, and he had to move back to Europe. And we actually were married and living apart for almost 2 years. It was
Oh,
quite
bummer.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's those types of things that you kind of take a little bit, when you think about couples that get to meet and they get engaged and they get married and then they have kids and they buy a house. It's like our life never really worked like that. And I think, to be quite honest, it worked in our favor, because we didn't really have the luxuries of waking up next to each other for years. We did long distance for over 2 years, and we had COVID and illness in my family and him having to move. So it just, we're
Ugh,
in our mid 30s, but we feel like kind of like kids. We do date night, Friday, Saturday night,
I
because
love that.
we never had the opportunity to do it prior. So it's nice to have that time, without kids right now, just to be together. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. So is he German then, or is he American that just went over to Europe?
definitely German, born and raised in
Okay.
Germany. And then we did, kind of a wedding, official wedding, in Germany actually this summer. But we've been married for 4 years, but we finally did it with our friends and family in Germany. And so he's from outside of, Frankfurt. He's about 40 minutes outside of Frankfurt. So
Okay.
when we originally got married, we did the whole New York Times thing, whatever, insert eye roll. And whatever, that was his ask, not mine. I was not interested in doing that. And it was really funny because a lot of people spent a lot of time getting like photos done and professional images. And we had like I swear to God, we had like a woman who we met on the side of like a playground in Miami when we were in Miami with my family for the holidays a few years ago. Just take a picture of us. We're like, it has to be sideways. We don't have any time. Can you just take this picture? And so then we had all these friends who ended up doing like professional photo shoots. And like, of course, we were picked, right? Which is like the irony. Um, and and we literally had someone in passing take a picture of us. But then, when they were doing fact checking on us, the woman called me and she was like, I'm really sorry. I have a really weird question. Like, I can't even really pronounce the village that your husband is from. I'm like, it's not where he's from, it's where he lives now. And they were like, why didn't you tell us that as part of your email? I'm like, because that doesn't really like define us. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and they were like, that's such a great part of the story. I'm like, it's not. And so anyway, so he finally moved back here, but it was a haul. I mean, it was crazy. It was for a
Yeah,
long
that's
time.
that's a long
Yeah,
time,
yeah, totally.
especially when you're just first married.
Yeah, absolutely.
What industry is he in?
He's in banking, so he switched careers. He was working for KPMG, in Europe doing consulting, and then he moved into banking after he got his MBA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
There's
so
plenty
it's
of
been
those.
a road. There are, yes, 100%.
So, where are you from originally, Taylor?
I am from New Jersey, so I am from, down by Ocean City, New Jersey, if you're familiar. So all the way down. We usually go by exits, which is so tacky, but exit 36.
I love that. That's the beach town, right? Where people go in the
It is.
summertime. Yeah, I've been
It
there
is.
once with some
Yeah.
friends.
Where are you from originally?
Iowa.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, it's a good state. It's cold though. Um, so tell us about your journey and how you got into the wine and spirits industry. I see that you went to Boston University.
I
So
did.
you left Jersey and then went to Boston, which greatest city
I love
ever.
Boston. Oh my God, best city ever. I could not
Yeah.
agree more. I would love to move back. I don't know if it's quite for us right now. We need to stay here, but yeah, so I started working in beverage when I was 19. Like I interned for Svedka through college.
No
And
way.
yeah, they like paid me in vanilla vodka. It was wonderful. Like I always make the joke, but it was great. And yeah, so it was super nice. And then so I was actually going to go to USC in California for my master's after college, and then got an opportunity to work for Pernod Ricard, right out the gate, which is super cool. And I helped with launching Jameson Black Barrel, and I was involved in like tons of their brown spirits. And I just thought to myself, like, who needs a master's, honestly? Like if I could work for Jameson Irish whiskey right out of college, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of the start of my business. And then I've been in New York for 13 years and I've worked for, tons of these larger conglomerates from Sydney Frank, which houses Jägermeister and, Terramana, to Edrington Americas, which has McAllen and Highland Park and Cutty Sark, to Olive Grupo Campari, so Campari and Aperol and Cynar, back to Pernod Ricard, Patron, while it was independently owned for 3 or 4 years. So yeah, I've just been all across the space. So that was my corporate background.
Is there any key roles or key positions that you held where it was such an aha moment for you, or something that really said, yes, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing?
No, I mean, if anything, honestly, like I felt like my time in corporate, I felt like I was never meant to be in corporate, but people just like put up with me because
I
I'm
know the
serious. It
feeling.
just, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yes.
even know how to say that differently. And I've never really
I don't either.
communicated that out. But like, sometimes I listen to, this is going on a derail, but I'm going to derail for a minute. But like, there's a podcast. I love listening to Jay Shetty, who is, he has a Calm app and he talks about this professional baseball player. And one of the segments is called Uniquely You. And it was about this baseball player that like virtually could do a lot of different things. And if he stayed playing baseball abroad, they were going to kind of pigeonhole him and make him just do one thing because he could do a lot of different things. And they were like, you need to stay in your lane and pick a lane. And he was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to
Right.
move somewhere where I could be a jack of all trades and play different parts of the baseball, different, I guess, areas of
Positions.
baseball
Yeah.
positions. Not a sports person, as you can tell.
That's okay.
And and that's kind of, and he kind of felt like up until he moved to the United States where he flourished, he was kind of pigeonholed a bit. And I think for me, I have always felt like I, for some reason, just like was able to make it through all of corporate America. But I wasn't really a corporate person. So my aha moment was once I accidentally kind of started the business that I'm in now, which we could talk about at any point.
Oh, I can't wait.
I realized like, holy crap, I think I was meant to be doing this from the beginning. And I'm just so uniquely me now and doing what I'm doing. And the aha moment came, I think, a little bit later after I left corporate America, having worked for like 12 years for all these big conglomerates. There
Mm-hmm.
was no negative, there's nothing negative at all. I just feel like for me, being able to do exactly what I do now, which is be myself, work with so many cool founders, write in all gifts. It's just crazy. And I feel like this is something that was meant for me and feel very fortunate that I'm able to do what I do now and have the background that I had in corporate because I think it's a nice foundation, if that
Yep.
makes sense. Yeah.
It's you got a lot of great experience doing a lot of different things, so you got exposure to a lot of things. But it's, these corporations are fine. It's just, it's still, no matter what, there's a grind to it, right? Because there's so many things that you are expected to do that maybe you don't want to do, or you want to kind of flourish over in this box over here, but you're stuck in this box. And so companies that are fluid, that can kind of help people along that growth is awesome, but that's just not that common. And I
Yeah.
think I think that your experiences are amazing, and I kind of feel the same way too. My experiences kind of set me up for where I'm at now. I've always had this passion for food and beverage innovation, but I've never gone all in.
A
And I
hundred percent.
it just it
Yeah.
I love waking up every day. I'm happy I get to talk to awesome people like you. It just makes my day, and it's just so
Totally.
exciting. And I love that. That is really, really cool.
Amazing. I was going to say we have similar backgrounds, but different. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I had a different route, and mine was, well, you're probably sales a little bit too, but you're more communications than I was. I was more marketing and sales, kind of the traditional brick and mortar um,
Yeah.
style of marketing with field marketing and whatnot.
Yeah. Totally.
Do you have any I wonder if thoughts at all looking back? Like, maybe you didn't take advantage of this opportunity, or maybe I shouldn't have taken this one, or anything like that. I mean, I know we're supposed to live with no regrets, but I always wonder if people have those moments where, like, when you look back and go, I wonder if my life would be different if I didn't do that, or if I did do that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think the biggest one was getting a master's. Like I have very smart friends and a very smart husband, and my best friend, like one of them is valedictorian of her law school. Like
Wow.
I didn't even know you could do that, quite
Me
frankly.
either. Because you
And
don't get graded in your MBA. You just pass. You just pass it. My
she
wife is doing it right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, apparently she was valedictorian of law school. And then my other best friend got two MBAs from Wharton and UPenn, which again, I didn't even know you could get multiple
What?
graduate degree. Right. And my
Oh my
husband got his MBA
gosh.
from an Ivy League. But with all that being said, to me, it was one of those things where I looked at the opportunity at USC. I only applied to University of Southern California, got in, and then I realized I was like, I got an opportunity, I got to run with it, right? Which was with Pernod.
Yep.
And I don't regret it. And I look back on it and I think if anything, if I had spent 2.5 years learning about, you're right, my core competencies originally were marketing, comms, PR. I still do a lot of that, but I do M&A, I do sales, like distribution strategy, do go to market. I have a lot of different things that I help with these founders around, but I wouldn't have it would have just added 2 years to the wider timeline for me.
Yep.
So I think looking back on it, would it have been great to have gotten an MBA from such a cool school and had more of a collegiate experience because I went to Boston University, which was much more of a city school, 100%. But where I'm at with my career, I think it would have stalled me. So I think I don't regret it. And I worked for a long time, for about 2.5 years almost, as the first vice president of one of the largest privately owned cannabis companies actually in
Right.
the US. And I don't regret that either. I think that was a really interesting transition for me, which helped catapult my business and my career. And how cool was it to be, in such like a unique moment in time from a
Yep.
regulatory perspective, working in cannabis, like as a female and a vice president of a company, like I wouldn't have changed that either. Like, so I don't regret anything. I think everything, even when things may not make sense, happen for a reason. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, and it's interesting too because cannabis has kind of been folded in to, a lot of the beverage industries. Like Constellation has cannabis, and it's interesting too. Like even in our industry, conferences, they always have a cannabis speaker, or they have a panel on it. So it's interesting how cannabis has kind of been not like interjected, but brought in, I think.
yeah.
And it's really interesting for me to see that you got that experience, because now you understand it from an insider perspective, and you can take them on as clients. So you just open up a whole new world of brands and companies that you can work with, having that high level experience.
Yeah, totally. 100% agree.
Do you have any key people or mentors that have helped you in your career over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I have tons of different people that have really shaped my life. I mean, there are different bosses I've had, different people that I've worked for, and then also just people that have been in my orbit. Um, I had a mentor. I still do have a mentor who I worked with during my time at Patron, who was the one who brought me into cannabis, and it was an interesting story. He's a big marketeer, and he came from Foot Locker and Radio Shack, and he's epic. And if it's any indication for me to move after 11 years of working in alcohol and in cannabis because of him, it's obviously reflective of his personality and his reputation. But what I thought was really interesting about him, and I take a lot of the best practices away that I've learned from him over the years, was there's something super small, but pretty much we were in Mexico a long time ago, and we were on a run. And what ended up happening was the gates were being opened in Guadalajara. We were at the distillery, and it was crack of dawn. And not only did he know, obviously all of his other fellow executives within Patron and the master distillers, but he remembered everyone. He remembered every person, like everyone who pushed the door open for the gates, and everyone who made food, and everyone that was around him.
Wow.
And it was something that stuck with me because you have someone at an executive level who has worked at literally a chief marketer for Foot Locker and Radio Shack and Patron. And, he's as high up as he can get in his career, in my opinion. And to be someone that just is grounded enough to not only acknowledge people at all different levels at companies, but to remember their name and their
Mm-hmm.
family's information, it
Oh,
stuck
wow.
with me. So I have been fortunate enough to progress in my own career through my relationships. Everything is my relationships. I
Yep.
think I'm smart enough, but that's not why people hire me. They hire me because of the way that I work with them and the way that I've made relationships with others. And that is to me paramount. There is nothing more important for a business owner or for an entrepreneur or for a company than the relationships and the reputation that they build. And everything else can follow suit. I genuinely believe that because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you can have a great product, you can have a ton of money, you can have all these things, but if people don't want to work for you or people don't want to be associated with you, no matter what the type of business is, you're back to square one. So he taught me, as part of other things, just how to care and how to be, I would say, also very intentional, I think, with relationships. And I obviously have a ton of other, female and male mentors, but I just wanted to call that out as an example.
What is his name?
His name is Lee Applebaum. He is
Okay.
now the CMO of Wheels Up, which is a private charter company, flying like
Oh,
an
wow.
airline. Yeah, it's really cool. But he's on a
What a
ton of
f-
boards. Yeah,
what a fun experience he's had working for all those different companies.
yeah, crazy, interesting background, and he's still involved in the beverage space as well, just on like a board level. But yeah.
Do you have any resources or key learning tools that helped you that you would like to share? That could be resources. You kind of talked about a mentor, but maybe a coach or life balance advice. Any books or websites or podcasts, for example?
Oh my gosh, so many few. Oh, this is a great question. So Evernote is just from a productivity perspective. If you think of things, rule number one is just put them down. You're going to forget them. So always just put it in, like, whether it's an Evernote, which is an application on your phone. Could be, I legitimately am staring at my 100 sticky notes with literal, I have glitter smiley faces next to things I have stickers that I put next to things I need to get done. Super tactical, but like everything that you have in your brain, do not expect that you'll remember it. So just
Yep.
email yourself just a note. Use Evernote, which is more of a formalized platform. Write post-it notes. My husband will kill me. My entire apartment's covered in post-it notes. Um, that's one. I always use Calm. I love Calm. There's a part of the Calm app that is just a meditation. You could do a minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes if you're really stressed. And it just virtually just like level grounds you and puts you back to like an equal playing field. Um, I also, I am a manifester. I manifest my life away. And that's everything. That's like the street I want to live on, the partners I want to have in my business, the amount of money I need or want, what me and my husband want to do, everything is manifested. And I write it down and I circle it every day. So I don't know if that's helpful. And then on the on the book side, I never get to read anything fun. Everything is so self-help driven.
Yeah.
Um, so my library is The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, by Mark Manson. Burn, which was actually, there's a few books I could recommend. I am an early riser, but not at 5 a.m. But if you ever want to read, there's something called the 5 a.m. Club. It helps
Huh.
people get up a little bit earlier. Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg.
Yep.
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Um, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, which is about negotiations.
Oh, he was on Master's Class. Did you see that? Oh, so
He's
good.
great. He's great. And then The Secret is all about what I was talking about, which is really just like it's super phony and kind of tacky, but it's about manifesting your life and being very intentional with specifically what you want. Yes, so those would be my top picks.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those. It was quite an extensive list. I love that, and eventually, what I want to, I'll when I go back and get ready to post this, I'll put all the books in the link so that people can check them out pretty easily.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I always like reading all the self-help stuff, but in reality, like on a day-to-day, I would say just finding like little hacks, like writing things down when you're thinking about them and taking sticky notes and manifesting things. Manifesting really works, in my opinion. I don't think like every day you write you're going to be a billionaire. It works, but it's
Right.
more about just setting intentions. And I think
Setting
that,
intentions.
right? I mean, I
Yeah,
think it really does
absolutely.
matter. I don't, like, but it's all like a compound thing. I think people have to understand that a lot of this takes time, so it's not like necessarily overnight your life will change. But if you do these things ongoing, I do think it sets intentions. So,
Yeah, I I joined a program called ECU. It's an executive coaching uh, program, and
yeah,
that is one of the main pieces of
yeah,
moving into the next stage of your life. You have to know what you want,
a
and you
hundred
have to write
percent.
it down.
Yeah,
And because when you write it down, it becomes real,
it
right?
does. Right.
So those are all pieces and components of you to get what you really want. Like you're saying, manifest. You know
Yeah,
what you want. You have goals. You have things that you know you want to do. But there's little things every day that you can do to get to that goal, right? And they
that's how I feel. Yeah,
like
definitely.
when you wake up, you have a notebook next to your bed, and you say, "What this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do to get there." And mid morning, you do the same thing. During the day, at night, just constantly, constantly, constantly reinforcing those goals and what you want really makes them come to life and really helps you get to that next stage, especially if it's a leap, in your career.
I couldn't agree more. And then the last thing is just about gratefulness. I do a lot, and when I remember, I'm not the best at remembering, but when I remember, just writing down things you're grateful for. It's like it sounds like again super corny, but at the end of the day, it put things. I think what it does the most honestly is just put things in perspective.
Perspective.
I mean,
Yep.
that's really it. Like you have a shitty, pardon my French. You have a bad.
It's
I'm
okay.
from New Jersey. You have a
You
bad
can swear.
day.
It's
Okay, you have a
okay.
bad day and you're like wow everything is the world is ending when in reality you have to look at like what's working right and like there's a lot of theories around like the emphasis and the importance on just kind of thinking about the positive and thinking about what's working versus like headwinds versus tailwinds, right? And so like what's working versus what's not. When you focus more on the headwinds versus the tailwinds, I think it just first it just puts things in perspective, but also it's just a better mind frame to be in. We're all going to have ups and downs, and it's just a matter of like taking them as they come and really thinking about like the broader context of it and where is this the end of the world or is this just in your mind the end of the world, and being able to really decipher if that makes sense, like what is the reality of a situation. And yes, there's total moments in time where you're like the world is ending and that's okay, but being able to take a step back and realize that the world is not ending and you will be okay, I think is just as important, if not even more important. So
I agree 100%. I do it in my head. I don't write it down, but that's a really good thought because, you wake up and you have shelter, you have a car, you have money to do whatever you want within, obviously within reason. I mean, we're lucky people. We wake up lucky every single day.
and
And I
to,
think
to,
to take
totally. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no, no. I
No,
was
no,
just
go
going to
ahead.
say to take time to actually write it out, I think is really smart because then you become even that more thankful for what you do have.
Yes, and what I was going to say is the guy Jay Shetty, the love of my life, it sounds like, but he he ended up doing a like I guess like a meditation around be it's called Be the Lake. I'll stop after this, but
No, that's okay. Keep going.
Be the Lake is about a woman who gives a guy a cup, and in the cup she says put salt into the cup, into a drinking cup, and he drinks it. He's like this tastes utterly horrible. And then she was like, okay, how about you go over to the lake and grab a cup of water from the lake, and he drinks it and it tastes great. And the context is be the lake, see the bigger picture of where the salt in the lake, right? It's not salty water in the context. And I think if you can look at things that happen along the way that suck or that are frustrating, but how in the context it's a blip or a drop in the in the bucket, it just continues. Be the lake is like think bigger. How does this factor into the wider, situation that you may be in. And even though it's frustrating in the moment, bigger picture is it's just a blip in
Yep.
like a piece of
Oh, that's
salt.
interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting. Yeah, I've seen him on different shows, and I'm always very impressed. I should put his podcast on my list
it's really
to
good.
check
Yeah.
into. Yeah. So, kind of moving into the industry, do you see that most companies are experiencing the same pain points as others, or is there different pain points that you're seeing? Because I know you're kind of all in on innovation, and that's kind of a different, process than the corporate sort of the larger companies, brick and mortar, and how they kind of go to market. Do you see that there's different pain points there, or is it all kind of everybody kind of feeling the same pinch?
I mean, I think there's different pain points for all different demographics of people in the space. I mean, everyone has different things that are frustrating to them. I think depending on like where they sit in the space and also like where they're at from like, are they an early stage business? Are they later stage? Because these are all things that like, you just have different issues with, I mean, everyone has stuff, right? So it's just a matter of,
Right.
the issues may be different depending on where these companies are at. And so, yes, they all have pain points, but I think it just depends on kind of the state of the business. Yeah.
So when you work with these different companies, you mentioned that you kind of help them with distribution, or you help them with marketing, or what kind of services are you advising them on?
Yeah. So there's become this whole business. So my business is the Industry Collective, and I personally serve as a strategic advisor for now 40 CEOs of beverage companies all over the world, from early stage through considerably late stage, with a focus when possible on advising founders and CEOs that are of underrepresented communities in particular.
Nice.
And so, yeah. And so, in terms of like, the areas of focus, my business started through a venture capital firm originally. They introduced me to all of these founders that they've put money into in their business and needed help. And that was
Nice.
the start of what I do. So it wasn't intentional at the time, and I've taken and ran with it since. But the general
That is so
takeaway is,
cool.
yeah, so it's really cool. I feel very fortunate for
Yep.
just the ability to have gotten, in the position I'm in, and all of the business, pretty much 90% of it comes through referral, through venture capital. So they still, provide me with opportunities to work with really cool brands. So first and foremost, I'm very grateful for that. Um,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's
and
what a
then,
wonderful opportunity to right
yeah,
time, right place, right? Right connections. It was meant to
yeah,
be.
yeah, I feel like that.
The universe does that. You put it out there long enough, it's going to come around.
I feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of the areas that I help support with, there seem to be just a few areas that all these companies need help with, which is one, fundraising. Everyone
Mhm.
is constantly looking for money at all times. Hooray. So helping with fundraising, getting them in front of investors, working with investors that are interested in investing in the space is half my day. I mean,
Oh,
if not.
wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of these brands need money to keep growing. I mean,
Yep.
especially ones that have products associated or even technology, honestly. It's like across the board. So, half of my day is I work in-house for 5 venture capital firms. So, helping these investors find the right, I guess deals to invest in, right? The right brands to put their
The right
money
brands, yep.
into. Um, the other part of it is around brand awareness. So, how do you create inexpensively, virtually just awareness of your company? A lot of these companies don't have the same finances to like out market, out sample, out advertise, a Diageo. So, how do you think scrappily around what is the best way to reach my audience that doesn't really cost that much money? And so that's a lot of what I do too, is strategizing around how to create brand awareness for these companies that don't have a lot of money to work with.
Yep.
Um, and then lastly is around distribution stuff. So I'm not necessarily, I think your background is a little bit more, tapped into the like day to day like sales side of things. But I've made relationships with a lot of the people within the like Targets of the world. And, I used to work with RNDC a lot in Southern, all of the big traditional distributors, and I work for
Mhm.
a lot of the online marketplaces. So I've really become just, much more, I guess, tapped into the distribution network and have a lot of relationships there. So it's less like I'm helping with, RFPs for a brand who want to become part of a target network, but more so just providing like intel at a high level around what these companies are looking for. I mean, really, and like just general swim lane.
Oh, that's really interesting. Have you seen it change over the last couple of years then because of all the new innovation and all the
I think,
growth?
yeah, I mean, it's just become a lot more competitive, to be honest. Like, that's the biggest change that I've seen is just the competition. The stakes are higher than they've ever been, and
Yeah.
there is no room to half-ass anything. You cannot submit something, oh, I'm submitting an application to be considered for Target and just like show it to yourself. You have to show it to your mom, send it to me, send it to your best friend. You really have to take the time. Everything at this point has to be incredibly buttoned up and really figure out what I call is like your unique so what, which is just like what is different about what you're doing, and really think about what the so what is for these different audiences, whether it's for an investor, whether it's for a journalist, whether it's for a bartender. Your so what is wildly different based on the stakeholder at hand. So really thinking about what is unique about what you're doing, what you're offering, and who you're talking to in the context.
Do you are any of the 40 brands that you represent non-alcoholic?
Yeah, 7 of them. I am on a board. I'm a board member for a few of the non-alcoholic brands. Then I work for a bunch of marketplaces that sell non-alcoholic spirits, and then I work for product focused brands in the space. So yeah, across the board.
Nice. Yeah, it's really starting to become a bigger and bigger part of our industry.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think that people will continue to invest in, and by invest in, I mean both from like a venture side, but also just generally like consumers. I think this is here to stay.
Yeah, I
Um,
do too.
yeah.
It's just makes sense, you know. I had an interview with Bill Gamelli of Mocktails, and he was telling the story of how they were trying to get pregnant, and she's a lawyer in a law firm trying to make partner, and there's all these questions of why you're not drinking, and so they really kind of dug their heels into fixing that solve almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so now I definitely think it's here to stay, for those reasons and beyond.
Yeah.
We don't judge the non-drinkers anymore like we used to, or we didn't know what to think, right?
Yeah. Totally.
If you turned down a drink, there was something wrong, or whatever. Which is so great that we're kind of over the hump on that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of really cool concepts to come. So down here in Orlando, we have a couple of complete 100% non-alc spots. There's one that's called the Bandbox, and it's a cocktail bar, but they're all everything in that or that cocktail bar is non-alcoholic, and they also
Huh.
sell by the bottle. So, and there's another hotel here in Orlando called the Et Hotel, and they're all non-alcoholic drinks in their
Oh,
bars and their
interesting.
restaurants
Okay.
and everything. Yeah, it's really cool.
Hmm.
I think that's gonna be a trend that's gonna keep popping up everywhere.
Yeah, I agree too, 100%. I think it's not going anywhere. And I think that now that like Pandora's box has gotten open in terms of just like people talking about the fact that they don't want to drink as much, now we're just, yeah, now it's like, okay, now there's options out there for more people. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and I hope that a lot of these chains and these restaurants that still do offer alcohol will get on the the bandwagon with that, because you know they could sell if someone's just wants to have a happy hour drink or something with friends after work, they can go and they can actually participate, right? And
Yeah,
not just have water or soda water with lime. So I really hope that that's a trend that kind of creeps into the regular establishments.
I agree. I fully agree.
So, what is your outlook for the industry in 2023? Any major trend shifts that you're seeing outside of course, what we just spoke about with the non-alcoholic drinks?
I would say low, no alc. I think there's going to be a lot more in the like low alcoholic space too. I think people are
Yeah,
moving towards more sessionable drinking opportunities where, whether it's like, 5% proof, whatever. Like think about like spritz, right? And the popularity of the spritz. So I would say low no alc is definitely going to be around. And then incorporation of like adaptogenics, like kind of different funky things like that. I think that's playing out a lot in the traditional like beverage space, not necessarily as much in alcohol, but I think now moving forward, people are going to be looking at like, if I'm going to be drinking, what's in it for me from a better for you perspective? So I think, yeah, I
Less
definitely think,
sugar.
yeah, yeah, exactly right.
Yep, that seems to be the general consensus, of people I've interviewed, but also just kind of what people are saying in the industry. So I totally agree. So I'm looking at your profile, and I I mentioned this in the podcast number 7 that I'm releasing this afternoon has a little. Um, I talk a little bit about you and how you're going to be my guest next week, and I talk about how during 2021, the rest of us were holed in our homes with our tails between our legs, scared to do anything. And here you are, your life just explodes off the page of all these really cool things that you're doing, like Chief, you're a member of Chief, you're a board member at Step Up. Do you want to talk about any of those organizations that have kind of helped you? Your Rolling Stone Culture Council. How cool is that?
I think it's all been interesting. I mean, you meet cool people along the way. For me, though, honestly, in full transparency, like I love working in the nonprofit space and like helping with Step Up, which it just provides mentorship for young girls in low income cities, and it's a great program.
Yeah.
In terms of the chief and the female kind of focus groups for executives, I don't know. Like I feel like I've met some really interesting people along the way, just through what I do versus being kind of put in these positions where you have to, I guess, like liaise with people, like kind of more
Right.
in a formalized setting. It's not as much for me, to be honest. Like I do understand the value of it, but I prefer meeting like-minded people through the work that I do and just my day to day versus in that setting. And that's something that I realized along the way. Like it's not,
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily like I had some revelatory moment. It's just over time I realized that that may not be for me, but I know just how many people absolutely benefit from those types of opportunities. So I think it's great for so many people.
Yeah, I've kind of seen, on LinkedIn, there's some great chapters, and I have some friends who've tried doing it and kind of felt the same way you did. It just wasn't quite for them, or they weren't quite active enough, or weren't really getting the benefit that they were hoping to get out of, or it just wasn't quite right for them. So I definitely think that that's a possibility, for these different organizations. But you definitely see the happiness and the connectivity of some of these groups, and that's awesome. It's kind of like the lean in movement, right, with Sheryl Sandberg that you talked about earlier.
Yeah. And again, it's not everything's not for everyone. I think it's okay to be vocal about that. Like,
Yeah,
some things work for some people and there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. I think it's wonderful. It's not for me. So
yeah,
that's all.
I get it. I totally get it. So you want to talk about this Rolling Stone Culture Council? That sounds really awesome.
Yeah, so I was picked in like the original group of people. So they started it like 2 years ago, I guess, 2.5 years ago. And in some, it's just a group of people that they were aggregated together that, are in the music space, entertainment space, beverage space, cannabis space. And they are pretty much just like people that are like kind of like leaders in their own right, I guess I would say. And, we write for the publication not as, full-time writers, just as
Right.
contributors and stuff like that. So it's about different trends and insights. So there's not much else to it. It's just it's a great opportunity, to be able to write about different topics as thought leaders. So
I
that's
love
what it
that.
is. Yeah.
And what's Vin Social?
Vin Social is an online platform for experiences in the wine space.
Oh, can you give an example?
Yeah, so they did a ton of stuff during COVID. So virtually, you would do like a wine experience where you would sign up. It's like a like their kind of bread and butter. They say is like they're a modern like wine lifestyle community
Okay.
dedicated to like like exploring and discovering things. So they do virtual events. So they'll send you a box of wine in advance of a discussion, and then you can go on and learn more about the wine from the winemakers. It's very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
And so the Angel Group you're a member of, I'm assuming that's what the VCs
Yep, that is a
ventured.
private, yep, absolutely. So that's a private group of angel investors that invest in consumer packaged goods, so food and beverage.
Oh, that's really cool. So, Taylor, you're a very impressive person. I love your energy,
Thank
your
you so much.
ambition. You're certainly, someone I look up to in the industry, and I think you're doing amazing things. So keep it up, keep rolling.
Oh,
Um,
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate everything you're doing too. Congratulations on all of your success to date.
Thank you. I know you probably don't have time because you're so busy, but do you have any passions outside of work and giving back? Do you, ride bike, run? Do you love movies? How do you
Uh,
spend your time?
all of the like, I wish I had more time to do right, to do a lot. I don't, but I run or walk
Okay.
every single day, 6, 7 days a week. Used to be a prima ballerina and
Oh,
shifted gears, and now I focus on running. So I run, it's just super cathartic. I love
it
running.
is. Your
Um,
ideas come to you when you're working out.
yes, yes,
For
they
me,
do.
if
They
it's not
do.
3:30 in the morning, it's when I'm, ride my bike or working out or something.
Yeah, I fully agree. I love going out to meals. We love cook. My husband cooks, but we do date night every Friday, Saturday night, and I've been a foodie since I was as long as I can remember. Breakfast and lunch, I could eat whatever the heck you put in front of me, but dinner is sacred.
Yeah,
Dinner is
I love that.
appetizer, side dish, entree, dessert. Used to be wine every night. Now it's fake wine. So yeah, so those are I love eating out. It's our like time just to enjoy our time together and not think about things. And we love eating out. I love running and I love vintage shopping.
Really?
I am a dang good vintage shopper. So I have nice things, very nice bags and shoes and all that crap. But then I am a beast at vintage shopping. I've been vintage shopping since I was a kid. And in high school, I won like best dress, and I pride myself on that at 34, not because at 34 it matters, but because I went to a school where, everyone wore fancy stuff, and I did too, but I just sourced cool things. So whenever I get a moment in time, I am literally at all the vintage stores, even like the thrift stores, like Salvation Army, Crossroads, Buffalo Exchange. I am there finding some cool gear. So,
I love that. My niece loves doing that too. She was going to start a Instagram page just on finding finding different outfits and clothes, and it's $10. This
yeah.
whole awesome outfit costs $10. You got to do it. I think that's really super cool. I want to do that more. Um, but I don't have the time, or I guess the patience. I'm not much of a shopper.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you having me on. This was so nice. I know we're probably at time, but I think this was super, super fun.
Yeah, I agreed. Again, like I said, you're amazing. Keep the train rolling. Keep writing those goals down and go get it.
Thank
I
you.
love
Thank,
it.
thank you so much for everything. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. And it's so nice that you started this and people can hear inspiring stories about people like you. And yeah, thank you again for everything.
Yeah, of course. I'm super super psyched and thrilled that you agreed to come on. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you again.
Produced by Fedora J Productions.